Going live at 555. Now's the vibrate. Y'all know what it is. Not too far in the future, not too far in the past. Right now, I came in with this ancestor vibe I want to talk on, and y'all know me. Sometimes I'm not able to always be like, hey, there's gonna be a live video tomorrow at 8 o'clock. It's gonna be a live video, in the hour at 5 p.m. I'm not always, you know, aligned with that vibe to let y'all know. But hence why, again, have the notifications, all those types of vibes. Subscribe, notifications, all that. I'm gonna wait till a few people come in. And matter of fact, as y'all come in, let me know how the visual and audio is. In this video, we're gonna talk about family matters, and a unique experience, for myself, like just getting deeper into understanding, like ancestors and how to connect with your ancestors, what ancestors should you connect with. So we're gonna tap into that. And it really started when I had the aha moment of how, I done spoke of this many of times in connection with the elements. How the elements break down on a metaphysical level, like your water and earth aspect is more so like the feminine vibrations. The air and the fire is more so the masculine. And if you want to get more in detail, the air is like the father, water is like the mother, fire is like the son or the prince, and earth is like the daughter or the princess, and the whole dynamic of how, your ancestors also, so even getting a little deeper into it, your ancestors are connected to certain, spiritual practices, certain quote unquote cultures. You may have ancestors that's connected to the Tibetan cultures, Buddhist cultures, Santeria culture, you know what I'm saying? Or, again, practices, religions, whatever people want to name it to be politically correct. But, these different, pantheons of spiritual practices, you know what I'm saying? These different types of spiritual practices, and like realizing now, from my experience, I realized, and I want to say this before in a video, like upon my journey, seeing like the layers of how certain cycles reoccur, but just on a higher octave. And I done spoke on that before, but more so in connection with, my ancestral lineage, or the deities, or should I say, again, I like to say archetypes, the archetypes that I like to connect with and what's best for me to connect with. Like I realized, again, almost like that skillet to the frying pan energy, where, you leave Christianity, but you still kind of go with that same blueprint, but just on a different level. And I realized, even before I say this, this is again, greatly appreciate all the knowledge shared by, the Bobby Hemmett's of the world, all the different elders, who shared a lot of knowledge. I realized though, like how I trade, like literally, quote unquote, like I traded my preacher in for Bobby Hemmett in essence, where I left Christianity and went into, the esoteric occult, spiritual practices, and just kind of, although questioning things as I go, it still was a little bit of that, oh, this is the popular thing. Most melanated people I see is connecting with this, because of course it came to me, through my path. And again, there's no mistakes. Even if you realize something is not for you, it still wasn't a mistake for you to go through it. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, just like with Christianity, even though I realized, like, all right, Christianity is not for me, that doesn't mean like it was a mistake for that to happen. Like, no, that happened for a reason. And the same thing with, again, connecting with the Bobby Hemmett videos. Now, I bring up him in particular because it carried that energy. Now, of course, for those who know better, more advanced, or should I say, beings who were born into families who had that esoteric occult upbringing in some way, form, or fashion, may have knew how to kind of have these certain perspectives beforehand. But again, uh, these certain people knowing how to have certain occult, esoteric, spiritual, perspectives beforehand. But some of us come from the rawness of, like just really having to learn all of this, on our own, and not really having a support system around us to, bring us into this occult, esoteric, spiritual awareness. And before I go any further, y'all let me know if the audio and visual good. Remember, hit the like button if you're vibing with it. Make sure the algorithms pick up on the videos so they don't so it's tougher for the little algorithms to keep it from coming up in the search engine. But yeah, let me know how the audio and visual is. And I'll continue though, again, like that whole vibe of seeing how I left the church, but I still was subtly, kind of in essence, like looking for that church vibe in the next level of spirituality that I was getting into. Now, with that connection, there's also a connection where I realized, and this came to me the other day, where I realized, like, all right, some spirits, some, deities, egregors, spirits, you know what I'm saying? I say, reason why I use the word egregor is because the archetype is an archetype across the board. But once this archetype is given a name by this culture and then given a name by this culture, and they cultivate, or create cults around these certain gods or goddesses, then in essence is like a thought form created by, a collective of people. Although the archetype exists on a raw, in the raw essence of it. And what I mean raw is, again, like just the archetype of, what nature is without a name. You know what I'm saying? The archetype of what the sky is without a name. You know what I'm saying? Like that, for lack of a better word, that's kind of the raw aspect of it without it having a name, like a Yemenya or a Brahmin and Vishnu, or Kuan Yin or Quetzalcoatl, or, you know what I'm saying? Like once it goes into that, it kind of in essence becomes an egregor. And I know the name egregor might come off as like something derogatory, but it's not, unless you're using it in a derogatory manner. But realizing that some spirits are just like your blood family, and in essence are connected to they're connected to you through your blood family. So some deities, egregors, uh archetypical energies, but these archetypical energies expressed through certain cultures. So these archetypical energies expressed through certain cultures as deities, gods, and goddesses, you know, they could be like physical relatives. When you think about certain, and for some, not all. Again, I'm speaking to those who this resonate. Again, if it don't resonate, you don't have to stay and listen. But where as you continuously grow, like you're starting to learn about subconscious programming, you're starting to learn about meditation, you're starting to learn about eating different, but then certain, family members from your upbringing or certain people in the area you grew up in, that third house energy in astrology, the neighborhood, like your environment and short distance travel, and siblings and again neighbors. But anyway, like that, like as you start to grow, some of those people, may start to feel some kind of way, like, oh, they think they all that because they know breathing techniques, or they think they this because uh they eat healthy and this and that, or you know what I'm saying? And it may not be to that, degree either. It could be, subtle stuff of like just, oh man, I wish Universal was still like how it used to be, where it kind of has like a energy of like coming off as it's coming from the right place, but even still it's an energy of like wishing that you were like you used to be, aka wishing that you don't grow or that you won't grow, indirectly. And some deities or egregors kind of be of this same energy. Whereas you grow, as you start to understand what's best for the integrity and harmony for your being, some spirits are like, what about me? And I thought of how, like, again, there's certain archetypical egregor deities that's connected to drinking a lot, or mainly like one big one, you know what I'm saying? Again, this doesn't mean that tobacco is bad across the board. You got hape, you know what I'm saying, which is like a high vibrational version of tobacco grown, you know what I'm saying, in a healthy manner, and connected to certain spiritual ceremonies, stuff like that. So it's not like, oh, all tobacco is good or bad. In any of this conversation, again, it's not to say this is all good, this is all bad, and always understanding that we do live in a paradoxical, realm, being in Earth. But anyway, again, so when you stop smoking tobacco a lot, that's gonna upset the certain, family members that was vibing with you because you smoke tobacco, or the certain spirits or egregors that was vibing with you because you smoked a lot of tobacco. And what you realize early in the game, just like with Christianity, like where if you go to leave the church, and then some people like, oh well, you gonna go to hell if you leave the church. The only way is through Jesus. And how that same type of energy could even be, attached to certain people with spiritual practices outside of Christianity. Like, oh my brother, if you don't hold Horus and Isis as the highest degree possible, then you won't dimensionally shift to the next dimension if you don't hold, not to, what I'm saying, but but literally, it could, what some people call the hotepping, what I'm saying, but like where it could be that same energy, or if you don't put 5 oranges out for Shun every Friday, you're not gonna have this happen to you or this, and it's literally like the same thing as if, oh, if you don't read the Bible and, put Jesus' name first, then, you know, and as I bring up these examples, that's not to say that everybody in these practices, operate like this, because I've come across people who are, open-minded and, have a awareness where it's not from that perspective, even though, may deal with these different types of cultures. Because again, that's why this path is about you understanding yourself and what's best for you. Because a certain person that mostly deals with Santeria, or mostly deals with voodoo, or mostly deals with, Aztec culture, or mostly deals with Tibetan, Druid, uh, you know, what's another one? But I said Tibetan, but dealing with all these different cultures, you know what I'm saying? It's like you gotta know what's best for you. And as I continue, we're gonna get into that and me sharing my own experience with that. But on that level though, is again seeing how that energy could, be just like some relatives that don't want to see you continuously grow. So first off, again, certain spirits, deities, egregors, these certain archetypes, from different cultural spiritual practices, could be just like your relatives that, don't want to see you grow. Now, I did an exercise, because I was like, looking for more clarity about like, all right, what ancestors am I? Like for one, like when we say ancestors, like technically a god or goddess ain't necessarily an ancestor, to that extent. And also understanding, like again, also understanding that, hey, I'm an infinite being. And if some of these deities and archetypes come about by name, then in essence, they were created because words and names came after infinity. Any form of anything being created is not older than infinity itself. Infinity has no born date, so it has no ending date. And if I'm an infinite being on a human experience, that's the paradox of it. Like I'm infinite, but I'm also in this bodysuit and gotta go use the bathroom and eat food and all this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? But you start to be like, all right. So in my connection, I was like, again, like wondering, like, for one, pay attention to the different cultures that you vibe with, what I'm saying? Like the different spiritual practices, and more so, again, the different deities that you connect with, or different archetypes that you connect with from different, what I'm saying, different cultures and their spiritual practices. Because again, like whatever you gravitate towards will give you a sign of like, what you're connected to. Because again, you'll start to, without having to go to ancestry.com, you just start to like pick up on, what resonates for you, you know what I'm saying? And hence why, again, why instead of like sharing information, sharing knowledge to try to indoctrinate you into a certain belief system, I rather just promote meditation, hey, working with these crystals, hey, taking these healthy herbs, but doing things to help you get to a vibration where you could intuit or, use your intuition yourself to kind of tap into these things for yourself. Because I feel, again, like that's one of the most valuable things is understanding yourself to the fullest and understanding what's best for your path. Because again, what's best for my path may not be what's best for the next person's path. And just because it's not best for me doesn't mean I should judge it as bad. You know what I'm saying? That's their business if it works for them. It's my business if whatever works for me work for me. You know, and that's how you could tell again when it's like that Christian vibe where like if you start to just like again you leave a church or you leave a certain spiritual practices and the people like subtly like trying to fear monger you or subtly trying to, you know, like, well, hey, you know, again, Horus is the only way, or, you know, Kuan Yin is the only way, you know, the only way through the gates is through Thor and Loki, and you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, if you don't worship Papa Legba, then you going, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that, you know, and you even if for those of y'all who been, you know, with my channel for a long time, you know, you seen me go through that phase, and I realized again, like that was a higher octave, so just a higher vibration of the same cycle of me having to learn for myself, but going through that energy of like, all right, this is the, you know, the popular thing against melanated people, and then again, one of my, you know, first like the first time I ever looked to somebody outside of me talking about this a lot, and where I could tell they had a lot of scholarship, you know, and you know references again was Bobby Hemmett, and you know he would mostly, you know, bring up, you know, Orishas and Voodoo and Kemet, you know what I'm saying, and these types of things, you know. But even he would bring up, you know, not to, cause that's the thing too. Like he wouldn't like say, "Hey, this is the only way." You know, again, he was only expressing from, you know, from the spaces that he'd been through and what he was guided through, you know. And that's also, you know, again, as I explained that, you know, being aware, especially with the Capricorn energy, you know, sometimes having this energy with authority figures where you kind of want to take, you hang on every word of your authority figures. So, you know, anybody who you feel like is an authority about certain aspects of spirituality, you got to be aware to not just listen to or go along with everything they saying, making sure that it resonates with you intuitively as well. Now, I realize also, again, so with the comparison to like your blood family, just because you start to grow away from your blood family doesn't mean that you start to hate them or, you know what I'm saying, or look down upon them or judge them. You know, and the same thing with these deities, you know what I'm saying? Because I realize like again, I'm getting to it, you know, with the Santeria, voodoo, stuff like that, that it's more connected to my blood ancestral lineage. So you got like a blood ancestral lineage or like, you know, ancestors that's more so connected to the blood that's running through your bodysuit, you know, your vehicle. And then you have ancestors that are of, you know, the energy that goes like beyond your bodysuit, and not necessarily saying like you're trying to go into the extreme of giving up your body either. You know, it's just more so like these ancestors are your ancestors that uh that again go beyond like your immediate and let me say it like this, your immediate physical body, you know. So again, you got ancestral connections that has to deal with like, you know, like your great great grandmother, great great grandfather, you know, like very close to, you know, close to you in that sense of it. And this goes deeper into, you know, again, like how things manifest in the physical, and you are a part of your own ancestral lineage, so that even goes deeper into that too. But again, just keeping it on the level of paying attention to, you know, what spiritual practices are in connection with your blood bodysuit ancestors, and you know which ones connect beyond the bodysuit and your blood ancestors. And then it gets into the esoteric perspective or the metaphysical perspective of, all right, you know, the air and fire element, that's the mental is air, and the fire is like the spirit, it could also mean in essence action, you know what I'm saying? But the fire and air elements is more so your patriarchal lineage. And so in essence, you know, that's kind of like that's more so your lineage in connection with, your spiritual connections, like your deeper spiritual connections and the spiritual connections that's going to help for you to transcend, the cycle of continuously incarnating, carn in the bodysuit, constantly reincarnating. Because again, the bodysuit, the blood, you know, but it's those ancestors that's connected to that energy. Now, the the mother ancestor is kind of like and you start to see why it's considered so ancient, because the mom aspect, although it's points to, more of like, oh, emotions and just intuition in essence, you know the water also points to, the formless aspect of the soul, and it also points to memories, and memories that go beyond the conscious mind. So although air, is about, again, the mental realm, water kind of in essence is a part of the mental realm as well. And so much so, again, it's a part of the subconscious mind, which is the bigger, aspect of your mental realm, you know what I'm saying? That gets into the underworld, and all of these types of things as well. But again, you got your lineage, your fire and air lineage, and you got your water and earth lineage. So, I, of course, again, the learning how to ask questions, and being able to ask questions when you're sitting down in your meditations, you sitting down with yourself journaling, the art of asking the a question and how to ask the questions is very key. you know so for me, like, I was sitting down and I had to, like, really peep game, because I'm seeing, like, all right, I do have some type of connection with, again, my great grandfather, is Haitian, straight up Haitian, but yet they didn't practice, my mom didn't talk about them, practicing voodoo or Santeria or none of that, but just the fact that, straight up Haitian. And I'm like, so I know there's some connection there, but again, it's like, yes, that's more so of my blood ancestral lineage. So although, it's a part of my ancestral lineage, that's not the part that's meant to help me become more harmonized and whole, and, to help me integrate better. You know, it can, help me integrate better. But again, just like dealing with your family, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you do integrate by learning how to be aware of more than just being a human, but then still do something for your mother or your father or certain family members who may not be aware of these types of things. So you still have like that connection with their energy, and the same thing with these deities, where it's still like, again, it ain't no hate towards these archetypes or no judgment towards these archetypes, but you do start to realize, again, just like with certain family members, like Uncle so and so might dislike me a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So I have to keep a little distance, you know what I'm saying? And again, that's the paradox, because yes, everything is, how could you keep distance if everything interconnected? That's the parody of being in this realm, you know what I'm saying? Again, I use this extreme example for you to kind of get why, but again, like, you don't put no manure on your chest in order for the grass to eat outside. Like, oh, let me put some shit on my chest so the grass could grow, because everything is interconnected. You know, it's a paradox like that. Yeah, it's interconnected, but see how see how how that works out for you. You know what I'm saying? You put fertilizer on your chest for the grass to grow outside. You know what I'm saying? It's like that ain't gonna really, you know. Again, like you got the right, you heading in the right direction in essence, but that ain't exactly how you do it. And again, especially dealing with this paradox. But that energy again, so you have your ancestral lineage that's more so connected to your bodysuit lineage. Cause like I'm first thing, and if you pay attention to my channel throughout the years, like the main thing and first thing I resonate with, and again, this is more so on my own because I wasn't necessarily taught this by, again, the Bobby Hemmitts and the Phil Valentines and the other, elders that were speaking on occult and esoteric information. But like I was resonating strongly with like the Hindu vibes, you know, like more than anything. It was like meditation and the breathing techniques and matter of fact, even wearing my rude Rakshas, Shiva's tears, and matter of fact, I'm in that mode today. After got my Shiva lingam, you know, and again, that don't mean you worshiping it. You understand that those archetypes are the archetypes that you're meant to connect with and work with. But anyway, I'm like just always super resonating with the Hindu or the Vedic and Hindu pantheon and way of doing things spiritually. And I always brought up, from looking at everything, like, all right, if one of the main things we're working on is like healing karmic energy, you know, and breaking cycles of like keep doing the same thing karmically, it's like when I look across the board, I'm like, all right, whatever dimension, whatever timeline we was on, whenever, things was going on in what is called India, with the Hindu and Vedic, spiritual practices, like again, we must have got to that point because you notice a difference, in different practices, like again, it's not knocking certain spiritual practices, but I know that certain spiritual practices don't aim at integrity or harmonizing the being or kind of point more inward, you know. And like with any practices, you got some people that's gonna teach you like how to use it in a harmful way and how to use it in a helpful way. You know what I'm saying? Because I done made that video about like Louisiana karmic energy dealing with the voodoo energy and how, it's been used for like petty little spell casting against your brothers and sisters and, or just again, the petty spells against each other and the people around you who in essence, it would be best for you to be trying to help. You know what I'm saying? Or again, like none of it's really getting deep into self-help and how to really help your subconscious, and really and how to really tap in, you know. So I'm like, dang, all right, that yoga, again, from doing yoga, all these different things, and some of this is brought up and like I realize again, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That doesn't mean all of voodoo is bad, all of Santeria is bad, all of any type of cultures that may more so focus on the spell casting external aspect. You know what I'm saying? Because that just says that all right, we just in that spiritual practice and culture, you just had more people who wanted to use it for other things, you know what I'm saying? Or you had a lot of people that wanted to use it for other things. And then again, taking the knowledge and kind of veering off into all kind of other stuff with it because it was helpful when the Haitians had to keep, the colonizers off of them, you know, like it was something that was, what I'm saying? Like, so knowing that was a helpful thing, but again, it could be, passed down in a way, or, again, it gets into the hands of certain people. That's like, all right, I'm going to use this to rob a bank or do this other shit, you know what I'm saying? Or make somebody fall in love with me and all this other, you know what I'm saying? And it just gets in, and it's like, but it speaks on how to cast a spell to fall in love with somebody, but it don't tell you how to heal karmically from the lack of love of wanting to cast a spell on somebody. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, that, like, what that information is, you know what I'm saying? Because ultimately, that's the thing that's going to help you to, you know, uh, pull yourself out of these cycles, you know. But again, bringing it back to, the Hindu practices, again, like breathing techniques, I noticed the difference. Like, I'm like, dang, like my body and the way I operate is real different with this, uh, with these breathing techniques, with this meditation, with this yoga, you know what I'm saying? And again, also with that, it's not meant for you to have to get into the extreme, what they call it, aestheticism, where you like extreme, like how some yogis do get, like where they like, I'm not eating nothing forever, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna sit by this tree and meditate all for 17 years, that ain't necessarily the way, either from that extreme, you know what I'm saying? Again, you start to see like, all right, like pay attention to the whole picture, and you start to see what's best. Again, now's the vibrate, like what's best for this now moment, you know what I'm saying? But again, the Hindu vibes. Now, one that really surprised me somewhat, and I guess is more so surprising because I take it for European connection, and it's like, well, dang, why would I have like such a strong, you know, European connection, you know, than quote unquote African or this and that. And then of course, though, you do have deeper connections when it comes to when I'm bringing up like the Druid connection. Cause I'm like, bro, like I just have an affinity for oak trees that's just like, it's like, bro, why? Why do you like an oak tree so much? Like, what's with you with oak trees and acorns and shit? Like, what? Ain't like nobody say, hey, you gotta work with an oak tree or this and that. Man, like, I just, again, like I go into a neighborhood, bro, and neighborhoods where they got like the oak tree canopies over the street. Now again, as I bring that up, that also has the dark or shadow aspect in the South more so, you know what I'm saying, in America, you know what I'm saying, in the southern states in America, where again some melanated ancestors were hung from oak trees, so some people may not, if they looking through just that perspective, just that angle, only dealing with that angel or angle of perspective, you know what I'm saying? They might, not see the beauty in an oak tree, and that's okay, because that's a part of their experience. But again, uh, just this affinity for oak trees, and then again, whenever, researching and looking up certain things, along with just like, you know, again, your inner meditations, and then if you're a researcher, go and find the books. And then when it comes to research, again, the etymology, and a part of the etymology of Druid is connected to oak trees. So I'm like, all right, this kind of makes sense. And again, why, like, bro, some Harry Potter, some Lord of the Rings, like, bro, give me that all day. Like, bro, I be, and then I made the videos about that book, that breaks down the esoteric aspects of like the elves and fairies, and again, the connection with Lord of the Rings, and there's a different book by, I think his name is Lawrence Gardner, where it's about the dragon legacy. Much love to Mook, because Mook put me on that book right there. But I'm just like, bro, like that, that resonates so strongly. The recent anime I brought up, the Magus' Bride, I'm like, like why that, comes so strong, what I'm saying, compared to most other things. And you do have to question things holistically and straightforward, like, all right, am I being scared of this, or am I, like, what's going on, like, am I running from something that I should be working with, like, and again, like, knowing how to ask yourself questions. So and this video will be, very good for somebody who may have multiple, you know like, you feel like you resonate with multiple different, because again, being in what we call America, it is like a little petri dish of mixed cultures, because a culture is like a bacteria, what I'm saying, like there's a lot of mixtures, what I'm saying, going on within, the connections, compared to, again, like, you see other people of other nationalities where the whole group almost look like each other, and not in no prejudice, like racist type of, what I'm saying, like, well, all these types of Africans look alike, or all these types of Hawaiian people look alike, or all Japanese people look alike, but you know they do have stronger resemblances to each other because they have less of, uh the mixing going on, what I'm saying? But because on a deeper level, this goes into the whole connection with, chimeras and mixing, like, again, the example of, like, the cat, the domestic cat, which is like the mix between, like, a serpent and a mammal. Hence why the domestic cat is the only cat that has, like, the little eyes like a serpent, because again, you look at a lion's eyes, their eyeball, or I forgot what you call the part, that the black part, but it's round compared to, like, a cat, where it kind of has, like, that little, you know, serpent snake type of little shape going on. But, yeah, for those who may, have a mixture of different, like, ancestral lineages, what I'm saying, you may feel like, all right, well, which one am I meant to, connect with? Like, what, who, and what, now, on a simple level, what I did, again, matter of fact, pendulum, comes in handy, other than just being able to, ask yourself if you want to be assured, what I'm saying, have that little extra oomph with a little tool that could help, pull out the pendulum, what I'm saying, and, ask the questions. But literally, I was like, what ancestors am I meant to, oh, wait, that's the second part. So one question you could frame is like, are my ancestors strongly connected to the such and such archetypes? So are my ancestors strongly connected to, and matter of fact, write down all the different archetypes that you may have resonated with, no matter how subtle, no matter how strongly. So if you resonated with the Aztec archetypes, the Santeria archetypes, quote unquote indigenous American archetypes, I say indigenous American, kind of like, what some people call Native American, or quote unquote American Indians, what I'm saying? But, those archetypes, or do I connect with, Ethiopian Christianity archetypes, the Hawaiian, I forgot the proper name, but the Hawaiian warrior archetypes, what I'm saying, and their spiritual practices. But, you write all these out, and again, are my ancestors strongly connected to the Sumerian archetypes? Are my ancestors strongly connected to the Japanese archetypes? And you go down the line. But then again, I noticed a difference in the answers when I asked that, and I was like, all right, are my ancestors that's connected to my blood and my physical body strongly connected to this archetype and this archetype? And then I was like, all right, getting a little different answers. And then I'm like, oh, all right, I see, the whole thing. Like, all right, it's just like, again, like you got your ancestors that's kind of like your blood relatives, you know what I'm saying? Or you got certain archetypes or deities that's more so like your blood relatives, and when you get into, tapping in with your past lives, you know what I'm saying, and going into those deep journeys, you know, you may again find that it may be certain uh deities that may not have the maybe certain deities or archetypes. And again, I say archetypes because when you say deities, I know just hearing that it could kind of bring you into a place of like a god that's outside of you that you have to worship. But again, like it's it's a psychological archetypical energy that exists within your being, you know what I'm saying? But it may be certain deities though, again, or archetypes that, just like Uncle so and so probably was a little jealous of you, or didn't, or don't want to see you leave and go to a new city, or whatever the case may be. Certain deities could come off on that same vibe as well. And again, especially connected with certain things, like again, like I brought up tobacco, or you know the drinking a lot, or or again, like certain cultures putting out the plates of food and stuff like that. It's all different strokes for different folks. But again, if you start to grow away from that, and again, two main things for me was that I had, in all of my DMT experiences, I never really experienced like a Orisha, come to me. And the only time that I did have, a vibe of like a Orisha voodoo deity come to me, it was kind of in a bad trip, quote unquote, bad trip type of way. And again, I'm like, all right, that's when I started to notice, like, all right, this is more like some McGregor type of stuff, you know what I'm saying? In the sense where, like, all right, once everybody kept giving this archetype a name, then it literally could manifest, in the physical and have an individual perspective as if it's a person that's like, hey, why you leaving me? Like, what you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm laughing, but this is a real, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm making light of it, but it's something that could be very important for, your transformation and your soul growth, like to really, really know these things and be on point with these things. Cause again, you know, upon your journey, upon your soul purpose, things could get all, quote unquote, lost in translation, and you could get a little confused if you looking to work with, the same deities who you've actually, meant to like grow beyond, or go past. And again, you know, these archetypes still in essence may exist on another type of in another, you know, in another culture, in essence, just having a different name. But for one, it's more so of you just tapping into not so much worrying about particular archetypes that you're tapping into, but more so again like the spiritual practices itself. So it's more so again like not looking to like, oh well, what voodoo deities I need to work with, or what Hindu deities I need to work with, as much as it's like, well, which one of the culture spiritual practices I need to deal with. Because when you get into voodoo, it's not just about casting spells again, or summoning spirits. It's also being connected with nature. You know what I'm saying? Because again, you know different beings like the goddess of the waters and things of this nature, you know what I'm saying? And as I bring up that a little side note, how I realize in connection with the fish and the Pisces energy, you know, and the Pisces energy in the body, other than the feet, is connected to the lymph nodes, you know. And matter of fact, while I'm right here, where did I put it? It's connected to the lymph nodes, and the lymph nodes is connected to the feet. I mean, excuse me, connected to the body fluids. Oh, it's not right here. I ain't gonna go deep into it, but yeah, you see how again the mythology is anatomy as well, you know what I'm saying? But again though, with the Pisces energy connected to the lymph nodes, and the lymph nodes, when you look at the etymology of it, you know, it also speaks to water or water goddess, and also is kind of like a spinoff from nymph. You know, a nymph is like a water goddess, you know what I'm saying, in the Greek. You know what I'm saying? So you see how, you know, again, your body parts and different zodiac archetypes and, you know, and the energies that come with that, you know what I'm saying, is connected. Because then that goes into your chart on a deeper level when I'm talking about knowing your ancestors. You know, again, it's like knowing your patriarchal ancestors and your matriarchal ancestors from an elemental perspective. So knowing your patriarchal ancestors, aka your ancestors that's, you know, connected to the fire and air energy, and then your matriarchal ancestors that's more connected to the earth and water energy. You know what I'm saying? This why, you know, again with Avatar, The Last Airbender, you know, and more so, I think of the movie Elementals, or I think it was called Elementals or the Elements or something like that, where, you know, it was like the fire, and that's been coming up a lot too. I realize, again, from Avatar: The Last Airbender to the little cartoon Elementals, where it's like always kind of focuses the emphasis on the fire tribe, you know. But, you know, it's like you have that one side of the family and the other side of the family, and just like some of us, you know, who may have had that experience where, you know, our some relatives in our mom family, like if especially if, you know, your mom and dad family from the same city, you know, like some relatives in your mom family may not really like some relatives in your dad's family, you know what I'm saying? You know, so it, you know, that and that's again your inner work literally start looking like that, where, you know, you got like problems with the way you manage your fiery characteristics and the way you manage your watery characteristics. So like, you know, or say for instance, like your air element and your water element inside may kind of be beefing a little bit, so your emotions and your mind kind of clash a lot. You know, you have thoughts that kind of negatively affect your emotions, and then you got emotions that negatively affect your thoughts, and they kind of just back and forth in the clash, you know what I'm saying? Literally, that psychosomatic symptom that's going on in your body is a mythological story, you know what I'm saying, as well, you know what I'm saying? But again, like you becoming aware of, you know, what ancestors it's best for you to, you know, connect with. Because, all right, bringing up another solution in the connection with this, you know, it's like, all right, is it best for the healthy integrity and harmony of my being for me to work with these archetypes? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you could see, because again, ultimately, you're working towards integrity and harmony inside your being. You know, you're working in that integrity, that harmony comes from transmuting and removing toxic karmic cycles, ancestral karmic cycles, or some people say ancestral curses, you know what I'm saying? But these ancestral karmic cycles that just keep repeating and repeating and repeating, you know, it's like you want to work with ancestors that's gonna help you to stop it, not keep the beef and bickering going. You know what I'm saying? Like you trying to work with ancestors that's gonna help you to stop. Because I realize again, yes, on a human experience, you may still quote unquote do what some may call ratchet stuff, but it's a certain level to that, because I realize like certain actions kind of get swept under the guise of balancing things out, or unbalancing things out by doing this ratchet thing that's harmful towards this person, or unbalancing things out and it's like that ain't balance. That's just using balance as an excuse to not keep doing your inner work. You know what I'm saying? Like that's blaming somebody, you know what I'm saying, and using balance as the disguise, like, oh, it was all their fault, so I did this kind of spell towards them because it was all their fault, because of when you are responsible for attracting your experiences, because trust me, it be some experiences where it's like, oh no, I asked for this and all, what, but it's like, nah, yes, and again, and realizing the implications of saying like, oh, it was them. It's like, all right, now you're saying like, I don't have the power to create my universe. They got the power to create my universe. It was them over there who's creating my universe in essence, like, so when you go into that external blame and that type of energy, you're not gonna do the inner work and do what you got to do internally. And again, that's the energy of like, the little saying, like, if you see something in the mirror, like, and I say see something in the mirror, like if I look in the mirror and I see a booger in my nose, the best way to get that booger out of my nose is not to wipe the mirror. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're looking at the mirror, so you wiping where your nose at, like, let me wipe the mirror. Like, well, why that booger still there? Because you need to take the booger out your own nose. It ain't about wiping the mirror, you know. And again, you have no control over, naturally, because we don't have any control over somebody else's, actions on that level. You know what I'm saying? Of course, we may have energy so strong where it may influence our external realm, but ultimately, what you do have control over is how you respond to certain triggers and certain things that's going on. But again, it's an inner work, and not going external. But again, some deities, some of these archetypes could be like, like your family members on a physical level. So again, it's like certain, just like you start to grow away, again, as you start to become more aware of self-love, as you start becoming more aware of how to integrate different parts of your being and how to harmonize these parts of your being, when you become more aware of how to do your shadow work, and accepting and integrating your anger, because you was treating your anger like it was all bad, but there's a healthy way to express your anger. And it's not all bad, you know what I'm saying? Like, as you start to, do those things, you know what I'm saying? Again, that's helping you to transform and grow. But again, it may be, certain family members or certain archetypes or deities or egregors or thought forms that don't want to see you, grow into that new space, that want you to stay with them, you know what I'm saying? Because again, that's also that toxic, possessive love, like where it's like love through like trying to own the person, and like that you ain't loving me or loyal if you keep growing. You gotta stay here with me, you know. Like it's like no, or you gotta keep it moving. And even with again, like with my YouTube channel and everything I do is like like because I was getting into that space, and I'm pretty sure everybody comes to that stage of like what is sharing knowledge, and then it's kind of like it plateaus out, from the perspective though of like trying to keep staying in one space to kind of help people from this certain space. But then it's like, all right, I got to keep on growing. So the conversations are, the discussions, the knowledge that's being shared is going to grow and change along with me, you know. Again, I went from wearing the top hats and all that, you know what I'm saying, and being real strong into, the Legba energies and all that to I got into a space where really getting a deeper understanding about it and seeing how, again, some archetypes are more so again like your blood relatives. They're kin to you. You know what I'm saying? You can just like it's like as a child when you would try to be like, oh, you ain't my cousin no more, or you ain't my sister no more, or whatever. It's like, nah, that's still your family in some way, form, or fashion. But in order to help yourself integrate and transform, it's best for you to work with your family members you know that's going in that same direction, you know and to not judge the family members who may not, or not judge the deities that's kind of just there to entertain, you know, the duality more so than trying to integrate and harmonize energies, you know. So, that's a thing. Matter of fact, peace to everybody in the building. Start from the beginning. We got Goddess Essence Energy, Intimate, Antisocial, Rasta Pablo, Straight Panther. Oh, Mr. Cardell, what's up? What's up, bro? Peace to you. Kyle Matthews. Let me see. I saw the question. Said, what if you're not biologically connected, but those who raised you, are they still ancestors? So, like literally, so you said, what if you're not biologically connected, but those who raised you are? Well, for one, you gotta look at there's no coincidences in the universe. One, everything, is synchronistic, and, so in essence, as a soul, you chose, whether you chose from deliberate action or lack of action, we karmically choose our parents in some way, form, or fashion, and what lineage we're going to manifest in order to clear, certain karmic cycles and stuff like that. So, the ancestors of your non-biological, guardians or parents, is gonna tell it's gonna have some type of significance, to pay attention to. And as I bring this up again, you got to pay attention to how this plays out in your life and your experience, because again, it's not for me to tell you what ancestors, like, oh, my non-biological is best, or biological, what I'm saying is what you could see for yourself is best, because anything, again, like with the spirit realm, just like dealing with people. And that's what I realized, like if I say I'm gonna stop working with a certain deity or archetype, and then that deity or archetype shows up in a manner where it's like irate and mad. It's like, oh well, shit, you ain't really for me. Like this some old possessive, vibes. Like you ain't trying to. You just want me to be with you. You know what I'm saying? And don't really care about the holistic view of me growing, regardless of whether I'm with you or not. You know what I'm saying? But again, not going deep into that, just paying attention to, how does it resonate? How does things play out in your life when you're connecting with, again, the cultural archetypes and ancestors of your non-biological family. How does things work out for you when you do, connect with them? But again, ultimately, just pay attention to what you resonate with, in essence, without nobody telling you to resonate with it, you know because that's something I could share, again, like with me, again, with the Hindu vibes, and even seeing with the Druid vibes. It's like, it's like, bro, nobody told me to like no tree like this. Like, nobody said, hey, you when you grow up, you gotta like oak trees and the way they look, and you know, like nobody could, in essence, like teach you a feeling, because there's a certain feeling that comes with that. It ain't necessarily like an intellectual, like seeing an oak tree and like, I think this oak tree looks well, and again, you may like the look of it, but it's more so like a nostalgic, like, why do I feel so like at home, like I'm chilling with my grandmother, or you know what I'm saying, like why I feel like that when I'm by this type of tree, you know and again, it's the same thing with whatever, archetypes. It's just like paying attention to how you feel. Oh yeah, bro, just give me a shout, message me through IG, link. Right, with the whole adoption thing, and that may again speak to, like, again, something that happened in past lives. So literally, like, you could have been, like, let's say a person raised in Tibetan cultures, strongly raised in Tibetan cultures, but they were adopted by somebody who practiced Yoruba. And, the parents embraced this Tibetan child, as if their own, and, showed them their ways of doing things, as well. So, again, and say, for instance, that person reincarnates. So after their life is all finished and stuff, and they reincarnate, you know, you know, uh, trusting that, what I'm saying, one could, get to a space where they don't have to reincarnate. But again, for this example, they reincarnate, then they gonna like have this vibe of like, like, I resonate with Yoruba. It has something, but I also resonate with Tibetan. And they're gonna get examples in their life that's gonna bring them clarity to, because they're gonna see like how Tibetan, like the Tibetan vibes are kind of resonate more like where they could just feel like the raw little lineage of it, and then they may have people like from the Yoruba vibes again, like in a new life, they done reincarnated, and it's like it's like, man, every time I kick it with somebody who into Yoruba, man, we always cool. You know, I don't. It's like I vibe with it. It looks a little familiar. You know, it ain't like that full resonate, but it also ain't no like beef or no hatred towards it either. You know what I'm saying? Like so they'll kind of have that subtlety, you know, within them. You know what I'm saying? In their life, but yeah, you just gotta peep it out. Yeah, again, it's whatever, what I'm saying, whatever deities, because also again, you have your earth spirits are earth deities, which again resonates more so with your bodysuit, you know, and their job is gonna be like, and this why I brought up a while back, like, when wanting to manifest things on a physical level, or like, your human needs and stuff like that, tapping into archetypes more so like, ancestors that been here in the physical before, because they resonate more with the human experience, more than a raw archetype that hasn't really had that experience, of incarnating in the body. So in the let me think of an example. That's not coming to me right now, but you see though how like how each different little element, what I'm saying, like again, you got your patriarchal, matriarch, and then also, so that's what I wanted to get into, like again with the body aspect, you got archetypes, because as you bring up Baron Samedi, I realized too though from certain teachings that certain archetypes are, you know, like meant to help you more so dealing with this realm, and some archetypes are more so to help you uh transition from out of this realm. No good or bad, right or wrong, because again, if you look into, learn more lessons and reincarnate, is neither good nor bad, right or wrong. But understanding though, again, the paradox and the full or holistic view of this realm, where you know again, like I bring up the analogy of like whether it's school, because earthly plane could be seen as a school, it could be seen as being inside of another being, and it could be seen as being in like a jail, you know. And no matter what three perspectives you choose to look at, all three of them at some point you want to leave, in essence. Like you don't want to stay in the same grade at the same school all your life. You don't want to continue to live in the same being all your life, and you may not want to continue to stay in a prison all your life. You know what I'm saying? So again, no good or bad, right or wrong to it, but just keeping it real though about that perspective, you know, and from there you could make the choice on what you feel is best for you. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like sometimes, again, like it's presented like, oh, Earth is extremely all good, or Earth is extremely all bad, and it's like it's neither one, in the extreme. It could be a horrible experience. It could be a beautiful experience. We're getting into a space right now where we're able to have beautiful experiences. Like again, if you making sure you're doing your inner work, you know what I'm saying, and uh, constantly progressing, things like again it's becoming easier and easier to manifest certain things. And again, that doesn't mean it's all peaches and cream, because you do have those tough shadow work moments, you know what I'm saying, and things of this nature. But again, it ain't to the point where it's like everything will always be all bad and everything will always be tough, you know. again, it's not gonna be all on one extreme. You're gonna have your happy moments, your sad moments, but it's a balance. Yep, that's the voodoo vibes. Ross Pablo, he say people, Louisiana. All right. Yeah, again, same thing for me. It's like, all right. Because that's why I was, again, like connecting with those same energies. But then it did get to a space where all right, like now I done reached a certain awareness, and especially like after certain DMT. And I'm not saying you have to take psychedelics, you know, I'm not yay or nay on it, to each his own. Just make sure you do your research and you approach it with awareness, you know what I'm saying? Because again, you could do prana, speaking of the whole Hindu and Vedic spiritual practices, you could promote the release of DMT through certain breathing techniques, you know. But, through my DMT journeys, I got again like a lot of raw insight, more so DMT than anything. I feel like DMT kind of gives you a objective, like you get more objective answers. I feel like, and you do get objective answers on shrooms and acid to some extent, but I feel like they kind of little, especially shrooms, of course, obviously, like a little connected to more so the earth dimension, you know, from certain perspective, or should I say, like it just doesn't have like that raw objectiveness that a DMT trip could have, you know, from my experience, of course. you know. Yeah, right now just being aware. Wait, y'all give me 1 second. 1 second. We'll start bringing this to a close. Yeah, I done spoke on all those points again. Seeing for myself, like the voodoo Santeria is a connection for me, but it's more so again like a blood relative body connection, and not necessarily the part of me that's kind of, and as I bring up transcending, again, it's not to say like that whole energy of like, oh, I'm trying to leave my body right now, I'm trying to, you know transcend and just go into the cloud. It's not transcendent from that perspective, but it is like, again, like not letting you know uh the karmic cycles of our human experience like keep us stuck in a certain vibration, to not keep us stuck in these lesson loops, because again, it's certain archetypes and deities that's more so, you know guiding and a part of, they're more so helping. Again, like the bodysuit is more so a part of this realm, you know. And with that being said, again, that's positives and negatives to all the different archetypes, because they represent positives and negatives of, again, of the mind, positive and negative of water, positive and negative to earth, positive and negative to fire. There's a positive and negative to, air, you know what I'm saying? And that's represented in, these deities. And again, the, say for instance, the earth vibe, you know, it's like you could be two. The earth is the feminine, and the feminine energy, what I'm saying, also mostly deals with, and I say mostly not to say that, the feminine energy doesn't tap into the spiritual realm, because again, for the most part, that's what it, more so is. But, you know, is also, again, like the downward arrow, and connecting with the lower chakras, the pleasurable chakras. Hence why, a woman could, constantly have orgasms multiple times, you know what I'm saying, and really go in with the experience, because again, they're more connected to that nature in essence. And that's what nature is, you know. I did videos on that, again, talking about your nature, you know. And for one, your nervous system is literally, you look at the nervous system, it's like tree branches, and the Garden of Eden, or the fruit, or the apple, you know, and planting seeds in the garden, you know what I'm saying? All that, planting seeds in the garden, the sperm is like a seed, planting seeds in the garden, eating from the apple. The apple kind of got that torus feel, shaped like a booty or breast, you know what I'm saying? Biting into that apple, and in that area of the garden, that's near the root chakra, around the trees of the nervous system that's closer to the root chakra. But yeah, that's basically it. Anybody got any other questions before we close out? Any more questions on anything I brought up? Again, connecting with your ancestors and realizing what ancestors are best for you to connect with. Again, I brought up two forms of questioning that you could use for yourself. But again, it's, you got, just like, again, you got your soul fam, you got the people that you connected with and connect with as you started to, like you started meditating more and doing these different things, and you started growing away from certain people and start connecting with the people who's, connected with these certain practices that you're starting to do, and being an entrepreneur or whatever, the case may be, on different levels. But, basically, you got people who you connect with as you're transforming and growing, and breaking out of certain karmic cycles, and then you got people who, are connected to certain karmic cycles that you broke out of or breaking out of, and again, doesn't mean they're beneath you or you should hate them or that they're all bad, but, you are growing away from that energy, and connecting, and the same thing with certain deities. Like, again, certain deities you only connecting with because your family was connecting with that, aka your blood family, the family of your bodysuit, was connecting with these deities or this cultural connection. So that's kind of why you did it. Again, kind of like with some of us who incarnated into families that went to church. It's like we only was going to church mostly My mama said go to church. Said grandma, nana said we gotta go to church every Sunday, and Jesus is the way. You know what I'm saying? Until you kind of start to grow in your awareness and realize, well, look, I should be able to find my own way. You know, and it's like, not only people gonna represent like, hey, you need to stay in church, or you need to stay in this cultural spiritual practice and religion, you know what I'm saying, but also the spirits and deities that are with that spiritual, the egregors, archetypes, you know what I'm saying, spirits, you know deities, you know what I'm saying, like they gonna be just like the people, like, oh no, you gotta come back to church, and with some of us then seeing that, in essence, and realize that, when, like, say for instance, people come to you, like Bible thumping and like, hey, you going, you gotta acknowledge Jesus as your savior and this and that, you know what I'm saying? Literally, like, that's the egregor that's been created of Jesus, that moves and operates through that energy, and it gets power, or it stays alive by, you know, that worship. Because if everybody forgot about Jesus, let's just say that name and perspective of what is the Christ energy, in which the Christ energy not necessarily, just a masculine energy, but anyway, you know, if everybody forgot that name and all of that, then that egregor would no longer be able to stay alive, because it feeds and stays alive off of people, continuously, giving it energy and paying attention to it, And matter of fact, even if, because that's what I realized too, where your attention, your focus and your attention is what keeps things alive, in the sense of, or alive at least in your reality, in your perspective of what you're experiencing, you say reality, in your actuality, like in your perspective, is what you focus on, you know, you giving that energy. Because again, like if you got a problem with somebody, the best thing to do is not keep trying to beef and go back and forth with them, because you focusing on them, so you keeping that alive in your experience, compared to where, like, all right, I'm gonna just ignore and do what I gotta do over here, you know. And as you continuously take away your focus and focus on what you doing over here, then that person is no longer allowed to exist in your experience, or that it's no longer gonna have any influence, or try to have any influence on your experience. But all right, no questions, everybody good? But yeah, that's just a little simple vibe, a little simple Sunday vibe. It just, again, it was just coming up. I felt the vibe to just jump right on. Yeah, I mean, again, man, one of the biggest things is to, just be observant without judgment, and to not just, again, like, you gotta, I realize, like, all right, it's lazy, it's easy and it's lazy to just be like, oh, that's a church, or people call that a church, it must be all bad. People call that a church, it must be all good. Like it's easy to go on the extreme, but it takes a little work to be more discerning and intuitive and feel it out and see what's going on. Cause again, you got like the brethren, what was his name? Reverend Ike. You know what I'm saying? Where although it was kind of church vibe, he was like talking about how to manifest things, you know what I'm saying? And like how to manifest from, like in essence, like, you know, bringing up certain subconscious programming and spiritual perspectives that was best for manifestation that most churches don't bring up, you know. So, again, and there's also a time and a place for certain things, you know what I'm saying? Like that was a moment he was necessary for people to transition from being like just straight Bible thumping externally, because what he was also doing was kind of like, hey, you are an extension of God and you creating your experience. So look, affirm instead of just pray like that. You know what I'm saying? Like he was bringing in that type of vibe. But yeah, for the most part though, again, like any, because most Christian churches in essence, they don't call themselves a cult, but they are cults by definition of just saying like you can't be a part unless you drink the Kool-Aid. Like quite literally in the case of, communion, drinking the body and blood, practicing semi cannibalism, you know. Got a subtle cannibalism practice in the middle of church. Like, hey, everybody, we're gonna stop to drink the blood uh, of Jesus and eat his body. Subtly promoting. We about to subtly promote cannibalism. Like subtly. Well, because we talking in these soft tones, and that's what subconscious programming get deep. Where it's like just because somebody talks in a soft tone and we're singing hallelujah, and you're programmed to think this is all good. So we could say anything in this type of voice, in this type of setting, and you will, you know what I'm saying? We could talk about going on a crusade to kill 1,000 people in the name of God, but because we are singing and doing it in this voice, it's cool. Type of. I'm laughing, but man, look. Because it's literally like, oh, you can't read no other book. The only book that exists is the Bible. Like people get real. Like, hey, you can't do nothing outside the cult. Like, what a cult? Hey, we operate on this compound. You you go to this building every, what I'm saying? And if you don't go to this building, you kicked out of the cult. You know. Luckily, the church didn't have no fences, electrical fences or nothing like that. What it would have been on like the strong vibes, but you know. Yeah, most definitely, man. As always, it's grateful to tap in with everybody, you know what I'm saying, and share, because always, understanding that there is somebody, you know what I'm saying, dealing with things that are similar to what you're going through, and sometimes again, some things we're meant to keep to ourselves, of course, but then in a lot of cases, it's some stuff that, you could share and it could really, help somebody, you know what I'm saying, with them dealing with something that's very similar. In this case, again, like wondering, like, all right, what's my ancestors and what ancestors is it best for me to connect with? You know what I'm saying? Like, A lot of people may be going through that energy right now. And I say may, I know it is existing on a bunch of levels because, now it's to vibrate, and that's why it came up multiple times. But most definitely, again, is there anything else from the notes? Again, some spirits are connected to your blood slash body lineage, mainly, on a vibe of not really caring about your growth, but just wanting you to stay loyal, to stay with them. And then you got some spirits who are connected to your soul and spiritual aspect, where they just want to see you grow and get into a space of inner harmony and integrity, regardless if you stay with them or not. Because again, it's not necessarily looking for, that quote unquote worship on that level. But again, like with any relationship, if you expect, when working with a certain archetype, but more so this speaks externally. But in general, though, with I'll just say this, when connecting with the aspect of our ancestors internally, it is an energy of having to venerate, aka, have some reciprocity, of energy, like, appreciation, like, man, if it's just by saying I'm grateful for my ancestors, going connect with a tree, whatever the case may be, what I'm saying, where you just, let your ancestral lineage, know like, hey, I appreciate you. Because again, by you even giving that focus, like I was just saying, that's giving energy, what I'm saying, to uh, venerate and appreciate. So, but word, man, stay on it. We in this got an eclipse coming up soon in October. So making sure you're taking care of your energy, that's very important. And that's also why this message, you know, uh came through, because it's important to really be, making sure that you're aligning and connecting with the energies that you are meant to align and connect with, and you want to have more and more clarity about that. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to, we get into a space where, of course, you don't want to take things too serious, from a super rigid perspective, but you also want to have an energy of, just being aware to take care of your energy, what I'm saying? Like, take care of your mind, body, and soul. Make sure you're doing whatever you have to do to, you know, take care of yourself energetically and do what feeds you, what I'm saying? Do what you love. If you still, working a 9 to 5 or any of that, as long as you starting to give more and more energy to whatever it is that you love. And again, uh, different strokes for different folks. No matter what it is you're doing, just do it as if, I think of Mook bringing up this, you know, whatever it is you're doing, just do it as if you're source doing it, as if you're God or the universe or source. Like if you flipping a burger, flip burgers like how source would flip a burger. You know what I'm saying? If you run track how you believe God or source or goddess would run track. You know what I'm saying? Like if you, you know, cut trees down for a living, with that ain't, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes people have to do the trimming trees and stuff like that. Do it the way God would do it, because again, when you gardening and stuff, sometimes you pull out weeds and stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? But, do it like uh, how God, source, goddess you know, would do it. Uh, check out my check out my eternal health playlist. Uh, where I got videos that basically, go into the meditation, but you got different forms of meditation. Just simply put, before I go, you got where you could be meditating to uh, bring energy to generate chi into your vital organs. So when you're meditating on that level, it's best to be in the lotus position. That's why the lotus position exists. When you're sitting down with your legs kind of folded, you know what I'm saying? Like that's because that's allowing for the energy to flow into your vital organs more, you know. But if you're not necessarily focused on it for that perspective, you could just be sitting down in a chair, back straight, you know, and literally, you know what I'm saying, from 5 minutes to, depending on, how new you are to it, from 5 minutes up until 20, because most people just starting off, like that's something compared to, not meditating formally, because a lot of us then tapped into a meditative state in some way, form, or fashion, but just done it in a manner where it wasn't just sitting down with quiet and in a breath and really making a point to say, hey, all right, I'm about to sit and meditate. But you done certain things that kind of just, well, you just allow for your thoughts to flow. You didn't think, you just kind of allow for things to flow in the moment, you know. But yeah, just sitting down and, you do your breathing. I always promote pranayama breathing is to, on your inhale, you inhale and exhale with your nose so your mouth is closed. And you inhale, when you inhale, your stomach goes out, not your chest, but your stomach goes out. Stomach out, and then exhale. Stomach in, you know. And you could, depends on the setting, of where you're at. If it's very quiet, just sit in that quiet place. If it helps to have like binaural beats on, to have some type of binaural beats or certain healthy well basically, healthy hertz of binaural beats, 528 or whatever, you know what I'm saying, whatever you feel is best for you, make sure you're aware of where you sourcing your little binaural beats from, because all kind of people be putting all kind of stuff on the internet. It's not to fear monger, you know what I'm saying, to make it sound like it's that, like you could find some healthy binaural beats, but you know, you could do it that way. But again, the purest way is to sit somewhere quiet without that and be real with you and not even time it too much either. In essence, I mean, you could start by timing it just to see your progress, putting a little time on it. But it's literally about just sitting there and just, breathing and as your thoughts going, because there are gonna be thoughts that pop up, especially if you're new to it, you know, as your thoughts pop up, instead of engaging with those thoughts, you just let it pop up like a passing cloud. I used to bring up the analogy of a cat watching little mice run across the ground, but without trying to swing at them and play with them, you know, because literally, like, what happens is, so say for instance, you meditating and the thought of, what happened yesterday at the grocery store pops up into your mind, you know, the key aspect to it is to just observe it, like let that thought pop up and let it go down. But what the mind is used to doing is when that thought about what happened at the grocery store pops up, then it starts narrating about it. And yeah, I could have done this and I should have done that. I and yeah, I saw that weird person on aisle three and then like and that's what make you realize the importance of meditation as you even just become aware of that is like when you get caught up in a thought, it's like, damn, I just spent about 6 minutes ruminating on one little thought. Like one little thought popped up, and then I narrated a whole little 6 minute story of it, and even connected it to something when I was 5 years old, and went on a tangent to some other stuff. You know what I'm saying? So it's like just allowing for those thoughts to just pass through, and you again, the easiest aspect is to just pay attention to your breathing. You'll get to a point where you want to have your breathing quiet, where you could breathe without, like hearing it all loud and stuff like that. But just starting off, just as long as again, inhale, exhale through the nose. And a lot of times it is best for the inhale and exhale to be like, around the same amount of seconds of time. But to just, you know, I feel like is better if you coming from a place where you just overthink a lot and all that. It's just best to kind of just be with it. You know what I'm saying? Just breathe. Don't even try to count the seconds of your breath and none of that. Just take your time with it and pay attention to your breath. But yeah, 5 to 10 minutes a day, and again, just like literally, because everything is vibrating, so everything is constantly singing or giving off a sound or a tone. And no coincidence that when we talk about like the starting of your day or starting anything, there's the phrase setting the tone. Like people talk about sports, like we setting the tone at the beginning of the game, man. We're gonna set the tone by going out there and throw a 50-yard pass, but you set the tone of your day by also, again, like meditating as soon as you're waking up. That helps to kind of keep things clear from the beginning, and always understand as well that like say for instance, if I brought up as I just brought up, meditate in the morning, realize that source energy is in alignment for you to do what you got to do to meditate. So although the conditions, because some people you say that and like, oh, but this and that going on in the morning, like nah, you could find a way to meditate in the morning. Maybe you gotta wake up a little bit earlier, but there's some way you could find a space to, meditate at some point. You know what I'm saying? If not in the morning, if it is like some type of condition where it's just that extremely hard to do it in the morning, you'll have a space at some point in the day, you know to meditate. But yeah, check out the videos I got on meditation. The word is meditation to be in the title, but the eternal health playlist. If you go to my YouTube channel, go to the playlist, you click playlist, and it's called Eternal Health, ETERNAL Health, exactly how it's spelled. But yeah. But yeah, cool. I don't want to keep this video in alignment with the message, so we're gonna close out. But yeah, again, always appreciate everybody tapping in. Y'all have a beautiful Sunday. Make sure again you're taking care of yourself energetically. Uh, again, to tap in with any of my pendants, the Etsy shop is soon. I know the Etsy shop and website, is one of those resilient, especially with the website, one of those resilient things, especially for a old Capricorn archetypical energy of and Aries, in the Aries moon of like wanting to do everything ourselves, you know what I'm saying? But having the trust to be able to disperse all them activities out. But like somebody doing my website for me instead of me trying to do it all. But anyway, uh but the pendants, the jewels are on my Instagram. My Instagram is Epic Lifestyles, EPIKLIFESTYLEZ. Message me for inquiry, and I have the directions of how to order through Instagram. So just send me a message. Any and all donations are greatly appreciated. Donation links are underneath mostly all of my videos. And just appreciate y'all for, again, being in the space, you know, tapping in the live, being active in the discussion. But, yep. Straight Panther, peace, peace, you know what it is. Martin Damberville, Anthony X, Rasta Pablo, Jennifer Poole, Kyle Matthews, peace, peace. Now it's the vibrate, y'all know what it is.